everybody. How is everyone? Where am I? Oh, there I am. Hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am, of course, Mr. Malice, and you are here watching the Malice Experience. And, of course, as always, my co-host, which is looking someplace.
Of course, is a horse.
Mystic Salon. If you need your hair done, just give him a call. I'm sorry.
I mean, that didn't even make it to dad joke territory. Like, not even close. It didn't go.
Even Rook laughed, though.
I'm changing my name. Official.
Oh,
dear God,
shit.
help me.
God is not here.
The gods.
Somebody. All right. So tonight we don't have a guest. It's just us two. We do have a couple of people potentially lined up, coming here soon to the show. Apparently one of them has published 24 books. So kind of looking forward to that.
Hope they're good.
I do think so. Hold on a second. I'll tell you the name.
The books, not the person. Well, I mean the person too.
I mean the books. I have no idea, but Michael Ford. Michael W. Ford.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, called author of 23 books and a YouTube channel. Okay.
I shall Google him.
So yeah, I've seen his name kind of rattle around, here and there.
I will use my PhD to.
PhD.
Yeah. Your Google it of philosophy.
Yeah. The Google foo.
And you are wrong already, which is normal.
Okay, what?
26 books.
Oh, 26 books.
I'm
okay.
just, who knows?
Oh.
I feel like did he do a tarot deck or something?
I don't know, but I guess he's a pretty big name when it comes to like, in the Luciferian, aspect of things. Okay, so he's a pretty big name in that. And kind of
Ziggy
interested to have him on.
Running through my house. Sorry.
Wait, what happened?
Ziggy just got Rook to run through my house because he can't remember the name of the liquor that I already said.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Powers.
I know. She's making things happen. Yeah, don't piss me off. I'm a Virgo.
I mean, hey, Ziggy's just got that, I'd say touch, but,
Ziggy, 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 can't you see? It's better than yours. It's Glenlivate 18 year. Glenlivate.
So,
Sorry,
yeah, he's gonna be a potential guest. Just gotta get in touch with him. And the other one is Manon of Witch.
Is it men like the Witch in the Workings?
Yep.
Oh, I love his channel.
So, willing to come on.
Dude, he does have an awesome channel. It's so, I don't know if you've seen his videos on YouTube, but if it's the same one, super laid back. Like I really enjoy watching his videos. It's been a while.
Yeah,
but that would be a good one.
Thank you, Jay. By the way, Jay is pulling all our guests for us. Jay is definitely putting in a lot of legwork. I'm gonna have to start paying him soon.
You have to start paying me soon. I'm first. Sorry, Jay. Look, we can go thirds, because we're all getting zip.
Well, you know, we'll see what happens in the future. We'll
Blackmailing
see what
him.
the we'll see what the cards hold, right? Um. So, but so as such as it's just Mystic and myself, you guys are actually going to get a tarot reading this week, and we're going to talk about a deck that I'm actually interested in purchasing. So, Mystic, take it away.
Sail away, sail away, sail away.
Take it away, not sail away. Come on.
I have my inner Inya going. Okay. So this deck that we're going to talk about tonight is the Goetia Tarot. Goetic. And the reason I'm hesitating here is because I'm looking at the book just real quick. Because I always like
Isn't it
to
Goetia?
Goetia Tarot.
Okay,
Goetia.
Goetia. Okay. Nick also demands a paycheck.
Y'all, good luck. Sorry. I am in a weird mood today. Not a bad thing. So yeah, I was just kind of looking at the book a little bit. It comes with a tiny little book, as everybody knows. I know Malice agree. We don't really read the books. I
Mm-hmm.
do read the intros. I like the intros. The intro to the Fairy Witch Oracle is a great intro.
Oh yeah,
'Cause-
that story,
Yeah,
that whole story they have built in
yeah.
there. Oh yeah, it's fucking amazing.
So this one, I mean, it does have a little bit of a story, but it's based on the Ars Goetia, and full name is Tarot in the Darkness. It is 78 cards, so it's a full tarot deck. We were just talking a little bit. These are actual um uh sorry, dog keeps barking. Um they're okay card stock wise. Like they're not flimsy by any means compared to some of the other decks that I have that have cost way much more, much more. But they're favorable. They're, nice card stock, probably a little thicker than your standard deck of $20 cards. Number one thing to note from them is initially the back. They're reversible, so you can flop them, and you will not know until you flip it over.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I really do like is I am a fan of mono or duochromat decks.
And
Um,
the monochromatic.
mhm. I have a couple that have well, that's actually a total of 3 colors if you include black in them, and that's all they have. So, but the imagery is amazing. I love. There's no borders. It's completely through to the edges. I'm not a fan often of a lot of words. Why does everybody want to bark right now? Why? Chihuahua, hush. Jesus Christ, it's farming here. Um, but anyway, so yeah, does have words on it. I'm gonna read a couple of them to you. It's not a lot, but the way they did it in this deck is really fine. I mean, it's way better than you see it in others, where they have this huge border and Comic Sans serif across the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I
No, that's
actually like the
elegant,
design.
minimalistic.
It is, and the design kind of fits with the theme of the card too. So that's something that's a little bit different. So each one of the cards has a reference to what I am going to call a demon because I don't have a better reference for it, but there are other references, as many know, and the traditional tarot name of the card on it, as well as the number and all that stuff. So you have the same suits as you do in any other tarot deck. I'm just double checking to make sure there's not a random weird suit I'm about to lie to everybody. And it's cups, pentacles, uh, swords. So it's standard, names. One thing I don't like about them is they seem, for some reason, and this is a Los Scarabo thing. So if you ever get tarot or have a couple tarot decks, I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. I say Scarabeo. Is a one of the major manufacturers, kind of like Llewellyn, of tarot cards from out of the
Mm-hmm.
country, and they tend to be standard tarot size, like any other deck, except they're about maybe 5 millimeters taller, which doesn't sound like much until you're holding the entire deck in your hand, and then it becomes a little bit more difficult to shuffle to kind of break the deck. So, but other than that, I mean, I have no complaints about this deck, except I literally have never used them, and I am breaking them in tonight for the first time. So,
Feel
couple,
special.
you are special. I would say, and I'm going to go through a couple more cards here. I just want to give it a good couple shuffles.
Okay.
Um, I planned on going over these a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be truly honest with everybody. It's nice to have a break from doing the tarot sometimes. Um, I'm not a I never have been huge on doing these large weekly readings. So having a little bit of a reset has been great, and the rest that I had yesterday has been great. So I feel good.
Hmm.
Point of even sharing that though is that these cards were in my rotation too for us to review a couple weeks ago, and so they have been cleansed and consecrated and not used since then. So we're just gonna give it a couple of lovely shuffles. Um, did I say who they were by? I don't think I did. I usually do. How did I miss that? But I'll get it in a minute. Um, usually have at least the Fabio. Fabio. Not the goose Fabio, a different Fabio. Fabio Listrani is the illustrator and designer of these cards. So, um, if anybody has their little questions or things that they're asking for or want to know, keep it to yourself. Don't share it, but listen to what the cards say for the next week. I haven't done a read in almost 2 weeks, so I got to.
Is that kind of like a blue balls kind of situation? Like you haven't done one in 2 weeks, so then it just kind of.
It's more like crystal balls.
Right.
Um.
Okay. Well, there's still balls involved.
Oh, Jurian just said the most sacrilege thing that you could ever say to a Virgo who has multiple decks of cards. I would literally implode and die.
I'm gonna shuffle together.
Dude, I would be down there trying to categorize these things again. I'd be gone. It'd be over. It'd be all over for me. Um, see what we get. That would definitely be triggering Noella. There's no question. All right, so we have as a first card the Queen of Swords. Interesting imagery on this though. I get a little bit. Obviously, you have swords, but you get a little bit almost of a Lady Liberty kind of look to it.
Yeah, you definitely get that kind of vibe off of that.
You've got the moon, you've got a head in your hands. That's a little concerning. Clutching of the pearls. Um, and we'll talk about that one in a minute. Then we have Justice. Justice came up in one of our last reads not too long ago. Am I holding it upside down? I can't see. Nope. Yep. What is our other Chihuahua grunting?
Your chihuahua's grunting.
Mhm. And we have the Eight of Swords. We're gonna start with you. See now that is a beautiful picture. I want to back up a little bit so it gets really clear because that is freaking awesome. So we already have a theme. We have a theme of both higher numbered cards, court cards, and um, major arcana cards. So let's go back, and I apologize. I am not going to be able to give you any information on the demon. I can tell you who it is or who is referenced in this Goesha deck, and that is Shax. The other thing it does is it links the number for that deity in the Ars Goetia, so that's number 44. Um, I can give my own numerological interpretation of that, but the card itself for Queen of Swords is 13, which would be what it would be in your standard tarot. Um, and it even gives some signs and lunar balances here. Pretty cool. But anyway, so your Queen of Swords, if you are looking at the grand scheme of things over the next couple of weeks, Queen of Swords is going to be a hardworking card. So if you are currently like myself and having a rough time at work, it's not going to get easier this week, unfortunately. So that's not going to happen. Um, but it will be manageable. Queen of Swords is all about the the energy of full control and understanding and confidence in the uh, intellectual realm and the decision realm. So I would expect somebody who is like an ER physician, if they had to pick a card that described themselves, they're going to pick the Queen of Swords. Make a decision. Easy to make a decision because you know you have to make it. And if it's the wrong one, oh well, so what? Doesn't matter. You made it. It's better than not making any decision at all. So this is a week to make decisions. Um, the next one is Justice. This is the major arcana card I was talking about. And the card is in what do you call it? Normal tarot. I don't want to say normal. Standard tarot
Standard
is
tarot.
actually not usually number 8, but it is in this deck. It's number 8, which is kind of weird. But it is referencing Horus and not Horus like the Egyptian Horus. It's Haures. Again, I don't know what these reference. I know they reference the Arsko Esha number 64. But from the justice perspective, I can tell you justice is all about paying what is right to pay or reaping what is right to reap. So it doesn't mean the scales are balanced. It means the scales are going to be balanced this week. And that means if you have taken more than you should have taken, or you have given more than you should have given, you will either get or have to give more. So justice comes up for me in an energetic or an energy read when things are ready to pay up and or rebalance. So this is like the end of the month financials. You're going to see are you in the red or are you in the black when it comes to your deeds and your things that you have been working on. So look out for that. So this is definitely it's gonna be fun. That's all I got to say. It's gonna be fun. Week ahead. Our third card is the Eight of Swords, so we're keeping it in the sword family. So we are still focused on high octane decisions, making things happen, and forward motion. So the Eight of Swords references Amon, which I have heard of before, actually.
Yeah.
Amon. I've heard it in Amon Ra, and I've heard it in something else I've read or heard recently in one of the YouTubes that we probably have had a guest on.
Mm-hmm.
But it is referencing the number 7. And your Eight of Swords card is really we've been getting a lot of eights, by the way. Interestingly enough, the numerology association of this read is 8. Um, eights really are talking about how we get to the end, and we take that moment right before you are really stepping to make that decision. And you're making sure everything's lined up before you go jump. So, for example, if you're evil Knievel, well, nobody's evil Knievel because unfortunately we know how that turned out. But if you were evil Knievel, this is where you are double checking your mathematics to make sure you hit the right speed before you go through the jump so that you can make it to the other side. And when we're talking about these decisions that you're going to be making next week, this doesn't have to be a big, huge decision. We're just saying according to the cards, you need to make decisions this week. Don't let things waver. Don't let things hang on. Go ahead and decide if it's the bad decision or the wrong thing. It's still going to give you a better outcome than if you did nothing at all. And that's because justice says so. And then you add on top of that, swords, just double check your work before you're finished and before you hit that submit button. And don't send an email until you've reread it again. I
Now
don't know
you
if the
tell me that.
universe said that. That's just my own advice.
And now you say that. I
Yeah,
just sent one.
don't send an email until you've read it again. So you don't want to end up like me sending a email to your boss and every other C-suite person in the entire organization of 60,000 employees that says "Go tits" instead of "Got it."
Wait, did you do that?
I have done that more than once. I type
Hey.
really fast and I accidentally put the last letter of words onto the next letter instead of "Got it." It was "Go
Uh-huh.
tits." Check your emails, people. I'm
Go
telling you.
tits.
Check
That's
your emails or
amazing.
"Go tits."
That's amazing. I love it.
Jesus, I was mortified at first.
I mean, I would be too, with good reason.
So this is the tarot. If we have time, I probably will pull some more again later tonight just to look at them because the imagery is really awesome. Like they did a great job on the content of the cards.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be my next deck.
it's worth it, and it's not crazy expensive
Like
either.
it looks like a deck that can be used. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I mentioned this like while we were in between. It looks like you could use it as a tarot deck or as an oracle deck, with the way
Yeah,
that it's done.
I would absolutely think so. This is one of the ways that I read when I do my own readings. I often separate my major arcana and my minor arcana depending
Hmm.
on how deep I want to go into a subject. This one absolutely could be separated without question because not only does it follow the traditional tarot, it also follows the Ars Goetia, so you can pull out those meanings. It also follows numerology. It also follows some other things that I don't understand on it yet because I didn't read the book. Um, but it's pretty good.
Well, speaking of books, one thing I kind of like wanted to add on to this. So we talk about kind of like each week we talk about um, a tarot deck and things like that. I kind of want to talk about books too. So there's a book that I'm reading right now. Um,
Didn't know
that
you knew how to read. That's awesome.
one day, one day we're gonna meet up face to face, and the first thing I'm gonna do is smack you in the back of the head, then give you a hug.
Mm-mm. No, if you come to my house, you're going to see my bookshelf and you'll be like, "Holy shit, you really do have that many tarot cards." And there are a book or two. Is a book? I can't see. I don't even know English. There's a book or two behind there too.
So the book I'm reading right now, which for me personally I find very interesting, is this right here. This is the complete book of black magic and witchcraft. And it's honestly, so in my personal opinion, I generally steer away from books because like what happens is you run into shit like this. Which this isn't a bad book right here. And the quality of the printing and stuff isn't that great, but so there's this right here. You generally run into shit like this, which is like spells for the solitary witch and things like that, and then you go through it, and 9 times out of 10, it's a bunch of shit that you've already seen. Like if you've been in this for a few years, like we have. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 something years. Okay, Mystic, I don't know how long you've been doing this. You generally run into a bunch of shit that you've already seen, and then you get shit like this, which is the Book of Forbidden Knowledge, which doesn't have.
I love that book.
I love this book too, but it's not applicable to the modern day and age.
It is. It makes you laugh. If you want to curdle the toes of the lady, give her cheese on the goat's milk nose behind the horn.
Yeah. So so this it's not applicable in this day and age. It's a good read. It's a good read, but it's not applicable.
No.
So I was very wary when I picked this book up. But I can honestly say that in my personal opinion, it's a very comprehensive read. And all of its sources are quoted inside the book. So if you have any doubts about what they're talking about or what they're mentioning, at the end of each chapter, every source that was used in gaining, in the writing of this is listed at the end of each chapter. So that is the complete book of black magic and witchcraft by, I have no fucking clue because there's no author name on the front of it. So, but apparently this is a reproduction from the London edition of 1898. Very comprehensive read.
Authors, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. So very comprehensive, very good. And I would definitely suggest this. I'm definitely probably going to end up reading this a couple of times. So it's just one of those. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I think I've always been a reader and love books. And you're right. A lot of it is repeat.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish that like, and this will never happen, and it's kind of crazy to even say it, but I wish everybody would agree on who writes a book, especially if they want to be the one to write the beginner's book of or the book of, and the start here books is. Read it, try to understand it, work with it, exercise it, but then decide whether you're gonna, you know, pull it into your practice or not. Because
Mm-hmm.
people just go nuts. Well, I read this in the book, so this is how it has to be. I'm like,
Exactly.
no, and that bothers me,
Yeah,
especially when
same
you see
here.
conflicting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so you definitely have to kind of like, if you're going to start reading books, especially if you're a beginner, you're just starting out, you're definitely going to have to, read more than one book. Like, don't read one book and then think you know everything there is to know, and that because that one book said that that's how things need to be done, then that's exactly how things should be done. Because
The
that's
more I
not
read,
how
the
it
less
works.
I know.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's like that's just not how it's the same thing with the left hand path and working with demons and things like that. Like a lot of people will talk about like you will see in the community of the left hand path, you'll see people throwing around the term Goetia quite a bit, like the tarot deck we just looked at. Okay, you'll see people throwing that term around quite a bit. That that word, that book. Be talking about, well, what do you think of like this demon from the Goetia or the Ars Goetia? And though I'll be honest, I've never read it myself, and that's just personal choice. Like I've had multiple opportunities to pick it up, I just haven't.
I'm
Um,
gonna read it. I have it.
it's just one of those things that it is not the end all be all in the left hand path. Like it is not like is it a good place to start to get knowledge? Yeah. But it is not, don't think that any one book or any one tome or grimoire or whatever it is that you pick up is the end all be all in magic, because there isn't one. I keep repeating this. One of the reasons that we got involved in magic to begin with, most of us, is because of the the adversarial aspect of alternative spiritual practices, in the sense that it isn't organized. Like you can organize a ritual or a spell, but the spirituality itself isn't organized. There isn't one defined set of rules that yeah, exactly risk. The Goetia seems to have become a YouTube fad. Yeah, everybody talks about the Goetia, and everybody.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like the part that irritates me is you can tell by the way that people speak, if you pay attention to the tone and things like that, that anyone who has read the Goetia and is in the left-hand path has an unbridled sense of superiority because they were able to make it through all 72 demons of the Goetia. Okay? Or how many demons are in there? I'm pretty sure it's 72.
72, I think.
So, and it's just like, you read a fucking book. Bravo. You can read words printed on a page. Congratulations. The point of magic is results. How you get those results are unique to you in the way that you do things and the things that you've learned on your path within the craft. Results. Not which books you've read, not which authors you've read. This isn't a fucking book club. Okay? This is a lifestyle. And this isn't Goetiamon. It's not collect them all. Okay? We're not trying to work with every single demon that's in the Goetia before the end of our lifespan ends.
I know it's a bad idea, but we would make so much money.
That design is already done. That design is already done.
Yeah, that's always been a thing. I mean, no matter, I mean, just not even spirituality. I mean, there's this thing that people read and they're like, it is everything because what we said it was. If you ever heard of the Bible, but uh, you know, you have to experience things. Like even I call it a simple book, and I think I've mentioned it on here a couple of times, actually, more than once, because I had a fascination with the West Memphis Three, the whole story, and all that. But now I can't remember his name for the life of me, and I was literally just watching him on YouTube.
You're
Dear
talking about
God.
Damien
Anyway,
Eccles?
yes, thank you, Damien Eccles. He has a book. It's High Magic, and he goes through the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram and a couple of other small things. Meditation is almost half the book. It's an easy read, but it is an amazing start to the practice. But when I go through everything in there, things that I have learned on my own do not necessarily coincide or work perfectly with some of those specific things. So, do I now say that anybody who goes off of that book is an idiot and they don't know what they're doing? Or do I say, you know what, your practice is yours? There are some great things that uh, repetition builds an energy to it. I think you guys have talked about this, Malice, on some of your other streams. And we might have hit it a couple times too. before, but it is that repetition of a practice that begets a result or a manifestation that you continue to do that I think has merit to it, but
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't preclude other ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people get confused on that. And Mel, that is a great book. It is an easy read, and you can tell that that it's just exactly what he was doing and how he learned and how he grew into that process in that book. It's a very good book. I have a couple of his. I think you'll like it. Now, there's no ego in that book at all, and that is one of the things that some other books have a little bit of that create problems. But there's none in it. It's just a very nice read. And granted, I would have loved to have had that as one of my first books,
Well, so
but
apparently what
unfortunately,
I've
I
been
don't.
told. So apparently what I've been told. So this is what I've been told. This is not my own ideal. I have not assimilated enough of this concept in order to actually decide whether or not this is something that I want to use this particular phrasing with. But it has been brought to my attention that the type or style of magic that I particularly practice is to be considered high magic. Now, I don't like terms like high and low or light and dark and black and white and things like that because they all generally lead you to the same place. Like it doesn't matter where you're walking on the path, you're going to the same place. But anyway, for lack of a better term, from what I've been told by Nora, for those that know who Nora is, the type of or style of magic that I practice is considered high magic, apparently. And high magic as such because I so decide to dedicate myself to deities, and that is pretty much it. I'm not. It's not that I'm not open to working with any others, but for example, I have been working with Baphomet for years. Just put it that way, years. Not on and off directly, like devotion, dedication. And kind of like anyone else that kind of comes into it comes in as kind of like a secondary characteristic to the ritual. Recently, I have been considering working with King Paimon, only because I've been seeing the name King Paimon popping up all over the place. And
You just from an outsider, I'm going to interrupt you. You've been considering working with King Paimon, or King Paimon is telling you must work with him, and you're trying to decide whether to listen. 'Cause that's what it sounds like.
yeah, it's more
I'm
like
just saying.
it's more like King Paimon's trying to like telling me I need to
Uh
work with him, and I'm deciding whether or not I actually want to do that. Um, so, but yeah, the name keeps popping up in a lot of different places, and so I'm considering doing it. I mean, I've heard the horror stories, and I've heard the victory tales, but definitely kind of interested because apparently, like, so what people are telling me because I'm writing a book for those of you who don't know, which is the Book of Baphomet: Conversations with the Horned One. Every time I say the title of the book, I feel more and more like a salesman. I promise that's not what I'm doing. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not the intention. So, with the book that I'm writing, because apparently King Paimon is a connoisseur of the arts, apparently. So, if you are doing something creative, King Paimon is the demon that you want to be working with. So, I figured, might as well make it a little bit, smoother. I'm going to consider working with King Paimon. How that's going to look and how that's going to go over, I have no idea. I will let you guys know. So anyway, the meat of the topic this evening, what it is that I kind of want to talk about, is there something a lot of us kind of have to deal with?
Meat.
What?
We all have to deal with meat.
No, not really. A vegan doesn't have to deal with meat.
They kind of do. We can talk about that later. Push my mic away.
So something we all kind of have to deal with being, openly practicing occultists is, well, discrimination in the world around us for the things that we believe in. Whether that be in our families, within our friends groups, at school, at work. I think the particularly scary one would be at work. Um, there have been people that have been fired for their spiritual beliefs. There have been people that have been just horribly treated because they believe something different that isn't, God. So what we want to talk about tonight is, one, where does that come from? Where does the stigma come from? Where does the kind of like the misconception and idea of things, where does that come from? Can we or should we educate people, or at least attempt to educate people, and how to deal with a situation appropriately when it arises, when someone is trying to attack you in any way, physically or psychologically or spiritually or magically, because of your beliefs. So I think to start this out, to root it, I think we kind of should start kind of like where these misconceptions come from, where they're rooted in. And so I think a lot of it initially kind of starts with Hollywood. A lot of it kind of stems from that. The perception of a witch or an occultist has always been the bad guy. In most Hollywood films, has always been, the one to be defeated. The one to kind of, that is causing all the problems and chaos. And sadly, that conception, that misconception, that idea flows throughout society. I mean, all the way down to our own our very own holiday that we celebrate more than anyone, which is Halloween, Samhain. You know, all the kids dressed up as scary witches. The very fact that a witch is scary. A scary concept. And I think so. Where does this scary concept come from? Why is a witch scary?
I think yes, Hollywood definitely perpetuates it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the initial, I don't think it's necessarily the same now. I think it still has an effect on it, but I feel like a lot of the initial came from truly, and I don't, this is going to be maybe an unpopular opinion, the dichotomy of patriarchy trying to control women. Because when you
Mm-hmm.
look back at, who was accosted during the burning times, or who were we holding um, responsible for witches and witch burnings at the time, when the Puritans, like in the United States anyway, or what was would have been, I don't know, whatever, you
What
know what I
would
mean?
have been?
Yeah, well, it actually did what will have come to pass. Um, and I
Grammar.
can't not remember her last name. It's her name is Sarah, and she was hung for being a witch. And do you know the number one charge against her was that she was uh of quick tongue and easy mouth, meaning she stood up for herself and told people what she thought. And that was the charge that got her hung as a witch. And when you kind of add that all into it, and then you kind of just look over time, granted, yeah, Sarah Good. Yeah. We did a little thing on her a couple years ago. So that's kind of like, if we go really as far back as I can think, I think that's where it starts. Is it starts with trying to control and then be out of Christianity, or I'm going to start using Red Cap's term, churchianity. It's way better. Never heard it before. It's way better.
Churchianity.
Because that's what it is. It's not about Christians. It's about the church itself, and that's gossip water cooler. It's like this big water cooler. But anyway, um, that idea of the church coming into control was also patriarchy based. It was there was never a priestess. It was always a preacher, and preaching to the flock and the congregate and all that stuff. And so those things just continued to grow and move and become and perpetuate. Now we're moving into some different things. It's a lot more aggressive patriarchy, but it's starting to break apart from that. And now people are just using it for whatever they can find to call it bad or negative
Mhm.
or perpetuate that myth of what a witch is. And I just wish there was another word for it. But there
I mean, I
wasn't. I mean, you can't change history.
well, I mean, I definitely agree with you that that's kind of where it stems from. I mean, also kind of like there's this idea that um, as Satan, at least within you know the pilgrims' minds, um, the devil is a man, and supposedly the most beautiful of all God's angels. And therefore, if the devil is going to tempt anyone, who would the devil tempt? The devil would tempt women. And no, it's not discrediting or moving away from the point that you're making. I completely agree, and I think it feeds into that point. That the devil could only tempt women, right? Because how could the devil possibly tempt a man?
By using women to tempt. But yes,
mhm.
same theory.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely agree with that. And I do believe that this term has kind of like grown and expanded, obviously, to include like all genders. But I think the misconception that like what you said, that kind of like keeps getting pushed into society, from that point forward, is through primarily Hollywood. And just that idea of that, which is something that's scary. And I think so. Here's the thing that I think that scares people about witches, or the concept of witches, from the burning times until now, is the idea that anyone outside of the hands of God could have a single iota of control over their own life, and others are left in the dust. That they have to rely on prayer and kneeling before an invisible man for the things that they want and desire. And that if it doesn't happen, it's God's will. And if it does happen, it's still God's will. And therefore, your whole concept of free will makes no fucking sense. Because you don't have
Amen.
free will.
Hallelujah.
You don't have, like,
Jesus, take the wheel.
And that's the problem. You talk about free will. You talk about the ability, as at least Christians and the evangelical extremists, churchians. They sit there and they talk about these ideas of having free will and being able to make your own choices, but yet they leave everything in the hands of God. They sacrifice their free will to the hands of God, and then say that is their free will, their choice to sacrifice their free will to the hands of God. So I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to be completely candid with all of you. This is what I think. So I try to be as neutral as possible in these podcasts. I try not to offend anyone, because I know that all of our beliefs differ. And I know eventually at some point I'm going to end up offending somebody, and I'm going to be completely honest. I really don't care if I offend you. I don't personally. Like, if I offend you, that's your problem, not mine. It's your choice to be offended, not mine. Like, you're choosing to be offended
by your statement.
Yeah, well, that's your choice. So, so the thing is,
You almost missed it.
Yeah, God is bullshit. The concept and idea of God and Jesus is bullshit. And if you say that you work with Jesus, you make my fucking brain hurt. Just saying that, because I've seen people say, I've worked with Jesus. Shut the fuck up. Ugh. The entire concept of the Bible was created to control people. If you look at the Old Testament and if you look at the New Testament, okay, in the Old Testament, Jesus was Joseph. Okay? Read the fucking books. Draw the parallels. Do the research. Jesus is not a fucking deity. He's not. Stop it. Stop. Please. If you want to be a Christian, be a Christian. You want to believe in Jesus, believe in Jesus. But do not, please, please, for the love of the old ones, do not bring that Judeo-Christian bullshit over to this plate. That's my opinion. That's what I say in my head. Now, you're free to do whatever the fuck you want. You want to do it? Do it. Right? But my opinion, okay, my opinion is that all these little fucking newbies that are popping up everywhere saying, yeah, I work with Jesus. I'm going to work with my foot in your ass in a second. That's the response in my head. Because in my personal opinion, it's almost a desecration of everything that we've been trying to do. Now, some people will sit there and will say, well, think of the irony, bringing the Christian Jesus over into the occult. No. No. Jesus doesn't belong into the occult. That's the whole fucking point. If Jesus is an actual entity that stands against occultism, who the fuck are you to bring him into it? Just saying. It's something that's been irritating the fucking piss out of me, and I just needed to get it out. Like, again, you're free to do what you want to do, and that's fine. Right? Like Ozzy Osbourne, I'm fine.
No, fine.
I'm fine. But anyway, so like the whole idea of that to me just boggles my fucking mind. And I'm not gatekeeping. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. I'm just telling you what I think of it. I'm just telling you that's what I think of it. Like, you don't have to listen to me, right? You can say, you know what, Malice, fuck you. You're a fucking idiot, and I'm going to do it. I'll fucking go for it. Knock yourself the fuck out. But I'm just telling you how I personally feel about it. Christianity, I don't want to say that Christianity's been an enemy of occultism, but they have. They have been. Christianity and Catholicism. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say that, in other words, the majority of the adversary to anything other than what is considered Christianity is obviously Christians. So in other words, there's a lot of. I was raised Southern Baptist, right? I do believe that some of the things that I was taught and learned in that faith has benefited me. And I do know that there are people who are brought up in the Christian faith that I think are of a nature that are good and benevolent and try to do the right things. The thing where I generally lose is I have never had a atheist, agnostic, left-hand path, Hindu. What else is there? Pagan, Wiccan, uh, Satanist come up at me about being wrong. Now, they've told me I've done things wrong. Like, you shouldn't worship with your candle on the left. And then that's annoying and gatekeepy and screw you. I don't really care. But never have I been threatened to my core of beliefs by anybody other than a Christian person. And I don't think that is necessarily, obviously, and we all know this, it's not all Christians, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to say that anymore. We know it. But all the people that have done it have been Christian, in my experience.
Same here.
It's nothing else. Even
the only people standing outside of the fucking mall in upstate New York, where I'm from, screaming at us goth kids as we walked into it, saying we're all gonna fucking burn in hell. Guess what? They were Christians, and that they weren't Catholics. They were born again.
And the big thing is your life, your entire existence, is based upon two things. You must believe in God as the only, and you must relinquish power to God to give you and provide, what you are. And the problem
Fuck
is
that. My power's my own.
Exactly, and that's where I get into an issue. And that's really what drove me into it at 14, into out of Southern Baptist and into Wicca initially, is that thought of, when I mess up, it's my fault. It's not God's fault. And when I do really well, it's also my fault, not God's fault. Now, I learned with the Wiccan deities that I work with, that I still work with, that they are present for me, and I can go to them and I can work with them, and the energy and the idea of them and what they represent to become a better person and to do things better. But I'm certainly not going to say, this my entire life is in shambles. Carnunos, why are you doing this to me? And you're not certainly not going to hear me Hecate take the wheel, because she's probably going to drive you right off into the ravine and tell you to screw yourself. You know what I mean? So it's that
Yeah.
idea of something else being in control of your life when it's wrong, but it's you when it's great.
Well,
And
I
that
mean, yeah.
drives me nuts.
Oh, same here. I mean, so the thing is so again, like with the left hand path, right? So, like, I mean, look, guys, I'm always going to talk about the left hand path because I am left hand path, and like point blank, period, end of story. I'm left hand path. But you know, this whole idea, you know, this is one of the reasons why we always have to be afraid of kind of coming out and saying, "Hey, this is what I believe in," right? Because almost every Christian, Catholic, born again Christian, Jehovah's Witness, all of these people are going to think you're this fucking spawn of Satan. And they are legitimately going to be terrified of you. And they mask their fear behind a wall of trying to save your soul. When the only thing that they're giving you is their fear of what you could potentially do to them. Why? Because you have control that they don't. And according to them, you shouldn't have that control. That control is unnatural. Mystic here is my best friend, and I love him dearly. And these pieces of shit would call him an abomination. And have called him an abomination.
It was referred to as a danger to the organization. Fair words.
What are you, fucking Dr. Seuss?
Like, if you think I am a danger to your organization, then you have given me way too much power. Way too much power. Because, yeah, probably. It's not going to turn out very well for anybody, you know?
You know, exactly. So now here's the thing. Now, as far as aggressive as I am, there is an appropriate way to deal with things. Now, Mystic, I don't know how much detail you want to go into of what you had to deal with, but I would appreciate you explaining to people the steps and the things that you did in order to deal with the situation that you had to deal with. And for those of you wondering, Mystic he's not left-hand path. He's very white light, and he almost lost his job. So could you
So,
please dive
yeah,
into
and
that?
I don't know that I'd consider myself white light. That's probably a little too much.
I
Um,
consider you white light.
very, very well. I mean, a lot of people would assume that white light would be somebody who doesn't really care about the balance. I think I'm more of a purpley, pinky kind of light. A little bit
Yeah,
of
you can
rainbow
be.
in there.
Yeah, you can be any color you want. It's all good.
So, in a nutshell, um, thankfully, somebody in the organization I work for was shared with me that somebody else had made a comment, and was kind of somebody who had the ability to go up and into the organization, and further up the chain around me, and said that I was a danger to the organization, and was kind of talking about me behind my back to some other people, and it caused some problems. Um, because this person didn't know me, first of all, and second of all, it was a little stalky too. For having being able to find it, I had to do some pretty good look to find out where I was. But anyway, so it came up as an issue. I got lucky because I had a couple of different ways to handle it. Um, Number one, I did speak directly with that individual and said, for all you know, I could be anything on this earth that's none of your business, means nothing to you. I don't talk about yours, you don't talk about mine. Leave it alone. But at the same time, I also got lucky because my organization made an effort, completely independent of me, made an effort to work towards being more inclusive and including these things. So it was good timing. I got lucky. Um, and this kind of occurred about the same time when the whole Starbucks thing happened. If just person gets fired, they think because they were pagan or Wiccan, and so it really it shocked me. Like I initially I was like, ah, they're gossiping. I was just gonna let it go. But ultimately, like it really affected me, like to a big degree, to think that what I do after hours and on my YouTube channel and on the things that I'm doing, I have to look at being more discreet. So I had to get rid of friends that were friends of mine for a very long time off of Facebook, for example. I had to close down a lot of privacy things, which I'm a pretty open book. And I'll be honest, if somebody asks me right now, X, Y, and Z at work, I'm going to tell you if you ask, you know, but it was very frustrating.
I'm
I
very
did deal
proud of
with
your
it.
organization, though, by the way. I know I've said that before, but
No doubt. No doubt. They have, I mean, literally have it was good timing, like I'm telling you. But they've literally done things like, okay, and not again completely independent of me. Put out a letter saying, hey, we know not everybody celebrates Christmas and Thanksgiving. What do you guys celebrate? Send us some notes. Tell us how you celebrate. When we send them in, and they post them on our page for everybody to read. How does Muslim celebrate the holidays? How does pagan? And so it was really nice. Um, and they raised a pride flag at the corporate office for the first time in 20 years, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean,
there you
it
go.
just was. So, but I mean, that's really what it was, and the only way that I could handle it was I needed, and I do this a lot anyway, to recognize that it affected me more than I thought it would, and the effect was I went through the grief stages. I was like, no big deal. So denial. Then I'm like pondering it a little bit deeper. I'm like, wait a minute, this mother, every word you can think of, and then I got angry. And then I just resolved to like, this is what it is. And then I decided to actually do something about it, which was to have the conversation and say, look, you have no idea what it is that I meant, that I do. And I frankly don't need to discuss it with anybody. Um, but you can say you do not like my religion. You can say anything bad about me you want, but do not call me a danger to anybody because I'm certainly not.
Hmm. Well, and I think that that's something. So the reason I think it's imperative to kind of talk about Mystic's situation. First and foremost, it was a situation that was resolved very peacefully, and it was resolved through the organization. Um, Mystic also had mentioned that he talked directly to the person that was kind of like making particular accusations, such as that he is a danger to the organization.
Boils my
But
blood.
so here's the thing that I want people to take into consideration. Um, Mystic is a very peaceful individual, and allow me to define peaceful for you. Okay, I need to do this first. Okay, and I need to define peaceful.
I feel like this is going to come out like what my boss said about me on a call the other day. She said, look at his picture. He's not going to hurt anybody, is he?
So peaceful.
Brad doesn't think I'm peaceful either.
If I'm getting to my point here, you'll understand in a second. If you are incapable of violence and harm to others, then you're not peaceful. You're harmless. If you're not capable. But understanding and knowing that you are capable of great violence and harm to others, and then you choose not to partake in great violence and harm to others, that is the thing that makes you peaceful. So understand that when I say peaceful, do not confuse that with harmless. Again, I repeat, Mystic is my best friend. I know him quite well. And I also know what he's capable of. He's a man that makes choices every day, and the choices that he makes are to be peaceful, meaning, yes, he is very capable of great violence and harm to others. But he chooses not to cause harm to others or be violent, which makes him peaceful. That is the definition of being peaceful. So to sit there,
adjacent.
if you say that in conversation you could not harm someone, you could not harm another human being, that you don't have it in you, that you couldn't cause bodily harm to another living being, then you're not peaceful. You're harmless. Mystic is peaceful, and he chooses to do things within the order that is set before him in such a way that is going to guarantee that he is not looked at in an incorrect manner. And this is the way that we all should react to situations of this nature. I do not condone violence against another human being unless, of course, you feel that your physical safety is being threatened. If your physical safety is being threatened, if you are a practitioner of the craft, or if you are gay, or if you are trans, or whatever, or whomever you may be, if you feel that your physical safety is at risk, then I implore you to rip through your threat without mercy. Rip through them and leave them as an example. But if there is no immediate threat of bodily harm to you, there are other routes that you can go. There are other things that you can do, such as what Mystic did. Mystic was livid. I was with him, talking to him when these things were occurring, as they were developing.
And it was delayed. That's kind of, I think, what scared me, to be honest, was the delay in my anger about the situation. And this was not a like a we go high, you go low, we go high kind of thing. Um, it was a self-preservation of my income. It is how I decided to act the way that I did. Because if it would not have been work related, it wouldn't have been a friendly conversation. There's a lot of things you can mess with, but you don't mess with my stuff. If I wasn't a
Exactly.
direct supervisor of the person, it would have been different.
So, Redcap, I want to kind of, I don't mean to call you out, but I do have to respond directly. So, Redcap says, violence, no, but teach them a lesson, yes. So, here's the thing that must be understood. Sometimes, rarely, but sometimes violence is unavoidable. And to sit there and say that there is always another way to deal with a situation is ignorance. To sit there and say that there is absolutely always a different route that you can go that is not violent is ignorance. There are going to be situations, sadly, there are always going to be situations that require one to defend themselves physically. Violence should not be a taboo word. Violence should not be something that people look at and fear, if it is treated correctly. Violence is a tool, just like a gun or a blade to cook your dinner and cut your meat. Violence is a tool. And that tool, when it is needed, should be used.
For some reason in my brain, I'm was formulating my disagreement with you, but it's not disagreement, because I think what's different in my brain is that I don't consider defense violence. I also don't consider responding to violence, or responding with violence in certain situations as violence. I consider, like, to me, and I think that's the difference.
Okay,
In my
okay.
brain, violence is a different. and I know it's the wrong definition. Like it truly, I know what the definition of violence is, but for some reason, the theory in my head doesn't include violence as those things that you described, but it truly is. I mean, if you look at it by definition, that's like
Yeah.
my first. The first thought is like, no, that's not violence, but you know what? It is. Those behaviors are violence. Um, Even if it's not physical, violence is still violent by nature, definition. I think a lot, maybe not a lot, but other people may have that same theory because you hear a lot of people. There is always another option that doesn't include. There's always a nonviolent option, but that nonviolent option would be your death or your complete disengagement or your complete psychological breakdown,
Hmm.
and it would be nearly psychotic to think that you shouldn't try to protect that. I just was thinking about it. Like I said, I was like, I'm gonna. Yeah, I disagree, but actually, I completely agree with you. I just don't like the term violence was different in my head. And I
Well,
wonder if anybody else thinks kind of has that same thing as I do. Like
well,
violence is only when
yeah,
it's aggressive for the wrong reason in my brain.
and I think that that's a stigma because the thing is, it's just what you said. By the definition of violence, defending yourself physically is violence. You're defending yourself with violence. Um, and it is a difficult word to kind of use. It has a stigma attached to it, right? Because when we say the word violence, we think of, we begin to have images of, grotesque things happening, in front of us. And I think that violence should always be a last resort. Now, that is also not to say to wait until you are down on the ground with 3 people kicking at you to resort to violence, to defend yourself. Because at that particular junction, there's really not much you can do other than take the beating. So the idea is that, as has been said many, many, many times, sometimes the best defense is a really good offense.
You know, the other thing that I think people can often forget is that balance. We everybody talks about balance. I mean, it's something I think everybody just strives for balance, even if you don't know what balance is. And I've kind of made clear my thoughts on it is that balance does not mean equal or even at all times. It swings back and forth. And I think we tend to forget too of what happens when we are in groups or when we are in situations. There's situational leadership or situational changes to that balance. When I am in an area where I am not as comfortable, I'm going to take different steps and assess that situation as maybe I'm not going to walk down that street at night if I feel uncomfortable because I don't want to put myself in a situation where violence may be necessary, whether it's from a physical area being mugged, spiritual. I have been mugged at gunpoint twice in my life, unfortunately, um, in the lovely state of Virginia. Thank you. It's where I tried to run somebody over afterwards with a Miata. It's a funny story. I'll have to tell it to you. Um, but when we are in certain situations, it changes how we react and put stuff in. So we need different types of people. When we get into social groups, the balance isn't everybody is a pacifist. So it's balance. It is you have the earth, you have the fire, you have the wind, you have the water. You have the balance of individual people and what they're capable of doing. So not everybody is capable of doing the same things. And I think when we're in I keep seeing lights outside. When we're in certain situations individually, that's a much different type of balance that we're searching for than it is when we are in other situations specific to danger or somebody saying you're a danger to an organization that could potentially take away your quality of life in your current state of living. Um, I reacted hard to that afterwards. Like I just thought didn't want to care. It's like, oh, it's just gossip, but just don't worry about it. And then, like, it literally, like 4 hours later, I'm like, holy shit, this is screwed up. So that anger delay, I think if we were physically with each other, I might have actually gotten physically violent. I was so angry. I was shaking.
Hmm. So I don't agree with like resorting to being physically violent like at the initial as an initial response. Um, Now coming from me, regardless of whether or not I disagree with that, I mean I'll be completely honest. Me back in high school, um, middle school and high school, I was always in fights. But here's the thing: I enjoyed being in fights. I liked fighting. I enjoyed the adrenaline of it. I enjoyed not knowing what was going to happen at the end. I enjoyed the fact, like even when I got my ass kicked, and I got my ass kicked plenty of fucking times, like fucking hard. You know, I enjoyed it. I was, very much into it. In my old age, I've matured and understand that though I am
Just kidding.
though I am capable of defending myself, I live by the old adage that I know how to fight so I don't have to fight. Because I know when it's worth it and when it's not worth it. And, as such, I mean, I've always said, for example, like generally speaking, if somebody's messing with me, whether they're, poking at me or, saying shit, I'll let it go and I'll move on. I'll walk away. Just leave it alone. Don't pay it any mind. But when it comes to my family, when it comes to, my son or my partner or my friends, people that I greatly care about, I'm very much a protector. Very much a protector. And a lot of my magical power is derived from that feeling of being a protector. So a lot of my focus in ritual and things like that is to do things to protect others, not to focus on myself. Is to learn every secret that I can learn from the entities that want to work with me. And when need be, call on that to protect those that I care about. But very, very little do, we shouldn't be in magic for the idea of gaining money and fame and power.
Doesn't work anyway.
It doesn't. You can gain money, fame, and power by doing your own work and finding something that you're good at and exploiting your own abilities. You don't need a deity to do that. You should never look for a deity for something so mundane and frivolous as money, fame, or power. Look to your deities to learn from them. Learn from their experience through eons of being on this plane, because they have been here for eons. Learn from them and take into them everything that they want to share with you. And grow from that. Because remember, this life as now, is in the mind. It is based on your experiences. Your soul is also learning. The battery, the power, the thing that drives you until your death, when it moves on to another host, essentially. The soul is very parasitic in this way. But the soul is also learning. And understand that in your journey and what you are doing today, you are here to learn and grow from your experiences. You are here for a reason. You are placed here for a reason. When you show dedication to your deities, to your entities, they will grant you gifts without your asking. When they see you in need, they will give you that which you require to move forward and grow and become more. It will happen. I promise you. I learned this through experience. This is my result that I'm giving to you. That the time and energy that you put into your deities will be repaid. But spend time to learn. Not for frivolous things that only last a lifetime. That cannot be brought with you.
True.
And as far as dealing with the misconceptions, let's move into the idea of how we can begin to educate people that may not want to be educated without being aggressive and without like creating confrontation.
I know for
Miss,
me, it's just like anything else. Uh for me it's try to be an exemplary version of myself, especially when I'm out and about, so that people will find me easy to talk to. And this is just me. This is my personality way of dealing with it, because other people would have to do a different way. You might need somebody at the bullhorn screaming it out. I don't know. Yeah, no. But it's being able to have connections to people and make those connections before they find out the details. So I calculate when I tell people about my personal religion and spirituality, and I do share it if people at work ask. I'm not afraid of it. Ultimately, if I ever do lose my job for it, um, not only will I become very aggressive, and you can just go ahead and call me Mr. Karen, because that's going to happen. That will n- you don't mess with a Virgo's income or job. You just don't. We don't like it at all.
mhm.
But it's about the awareness. So people, I learn people, I work with them, I create relationships with people, and then generally the first question I get asked, especially now, is the tattoos on my finger. So I have the symbols on both my fingers that face in different directions, and that's the first question I get into when people start asking about things, and it gives them a guide into it. And again, it is a calculated discussion. I don't go and say, "Oh, I'm pagan and I believe in all the pagan Carnunas, the horn god, and Christians suck." Rah rah rah! Get your torch. Um, it's well, I believe in the ability that not only can I receive blessings from not just God, because I'm okay with using the term God. It doesn't mean the God you may think it is, because most people assume you're Christian automatically. Let them. But it is the giving and the receiving of blessings. That's what it means for me. That's all I tell you. If you want more details, you're going to get it. But that entry level, non ego discussion of what it means before I even tell them what it is. So if you say, in my experience anyway, at 40, if you say to somebody, I am pagan or I am Satanist, I am Satan. uh, um,
I am Satan.
I am Satan. Um, or whatever the case may be, um, you're probably going to get closed off pretty quick from most people, because people are going to fear what it is, whether it's spirituality, personality, sexuality, gender. They're going to shut it out because they don't understand it, or they don't want to understand outside of their social circle or social construct, because it makes them feel more anxiety about who they are, and then start wondering, am I really who I think I am? Because some people go through that. So it's letting them know about what and what's the right word here? Let them know how I believe before what I believe. That's
Hmm.
my way, and it worked for me. It worked for me coming out as gay. When I would meet new people, like people say, "Oh, when did you come out?" Well, I come out my entire life. Every time I meet somebody new, "Oh, are you married? How's your wife? Are you married?" Yes. "Oh, is your wife work?" Yeah, he's an administrator. And then there's that moment of, but oh, okay, you know. So you don't go you don't have to go right for the details, And that's been very helpful for me. And also, I wouldn't be able to do this 20 years ago, but at the age I'm at now and with the experiences I've had now, I'm not afraid to directly sit down with somebody and say, "Hey, I heard you were concerned about my religion and spirituality. I don't think it's appropriate for work, but you brought it up. How about you tell me what you think it is, and I'll let you know, and
Keep
we'll
it going.
talk about it right now."
Keep it going, man. I'll be right back. My son just got here. I gotta go get him. Right.
I So you pondering pagans is gay too, just so you know. Newsflash. But ultimately for me, it's always been about um, just not being an asshole and letting people learn and experience it. That doesn't mean though that I don't think there's a place for those that do go out and are aggressive with sharing their beliefs, or being aggressively social, aggressively progressive, like the Satanic Temple. I get them backwards. Whichever one is the one that's really super political with, you know, religion. Because you've got all of these specific religious stuff at the head of the city buildings and stuff. Somebody needs to be able to fight for that. I'm not the one for that. But up until when Rook and I got married, it wasn't legal. Like, I wasn't legally recognized to marry the person I wanted to marry. That's hard. And then now to go into it again, now I come out. You come out as gay, then you have to come out as, uh, well, a nurse. That's always funny. Like, every male nurse has to be gay, right? And then you really have to come out as a pagan. Um, and that just makes it hard. Um, and see, I'm a little different in that I really do care more than I should about what other people think. Now, if they're assholes, I don't like. That's my limit. Like, if you're just an ass to be an ass, then I'm really not going to be concerned with what you think. But before I know you, or before I've met you, I do care about people's impression of me or how things go. But I also feel like if people give me enough time, they're going to like me anyway, because I'm awesome. Um, but I have been a gay witch and out since I was 14, and continue to come out all the time. I will tell you though, this last bout, this is the first time in my entire life that somebody at work has made a comment that affected me that hard. It really threw me off. That was a bit much. Um, and for unexplained, a big issue with the world is we don't share our beliefs and openly talk about them. It's not even just, to me, it's not just that we don't share them and openly talk about it. It's that we are uh, afraid to do so because the other side is so loud and there's less of us. So I think the bigger issue is that many people are raised to fear things that they don't understand, or that doesn't apply to them necessarily. It took me a long time to get my grandmother to understand what gay was, because it was not a good response initially. Um, and it took a long time of showing, like, look, I'm not gonna be, nude hanging from a chandelier, although I did do something close to that at one point, but you didn't need to know that. Oh dear. See, I've got to come up with something better now. I'm not vegan. I was vegetarian for a while. Um, I want to win. I am a yeah, I'm not gonna win. This is usually where I just say, like, I have tattoos. Like, does that counts, right? A really big tattoo. I can't show it though, because we'll get in trouble. Um, yeah, and I get Sophie. I think that's interesting. I don't know if it's the same thing. Um, but I've always hated the analogy, have your cake and eat it too. It's like, what the hell is the cake there for? You have to eat it. Don't make the cake if you're not going to eat it. Just do it. You know, you got to eat it. But
I've returned.
it's oh god.
I mean, you can just call me Malice, but that's okay.
I didn't say oh god. I am seeing if Rook will ever get me a refill though. I mean, shit. Do I have to ding the dinner bell? I guess I can.
You have a dinner bell?
No, but I have a glass and I can ding it. Ah, definitely, Mel. It's an us versus them mentality. A lot of it is intentional. A lot of it is just there are people are dumber than we think sometimes about certain things. You
Oh
can
yeah,
have a
most definitely.
very intelligent. Shut up. You can have a very intelligent person, um, be very dumb in certain things. And intelligence is really a big thing. Emotional intelligence actually is what I was saying. I was trying to read at the same time. Um, I'll beat a Capricorn just inked and pierced. I am multi-inked, multi-pierced Virgo with another Virgo and a Taurus on the end of it, and I have to deal with the Sagittarius
Wait,
named
with a
Rookie.
with a Taurus on the end of it. Like, are you talking about the end of the thing? I think you're talking about.
I am a I am a Sun, Virgo Moon, Taurus rising.
Oh, see,
Nasty.
I understood something completely different. We said Taurus on the end of it.
I quit. I quit.
You can't. You don't even get paid. You can't quit.
Dude, Pagan Grinder would be awesome. Or Pagan
I'm not.
Scruff actually would be my app, but
Yeah, we're not even going to go there.
please don't. I don't even know about your secrets.
But
Um, yeah. Good conversation though while you were gone. We had fun. We got all the way we devolved to Pagan Grinder. How's that?
hey,
It was that quick.
I would expect nothing less from my community. So yeah,
Uh, I
no,
don't we were talking a little bit about caring what other people think, and it's very hard for me to explain because I've said again, I do care what other people think. I care to a point though. Like the more, and this came, as I get older and required a little bit of recent self reflection. I care what other people think. I do, but I don't care about what assholes think. But I don't know you're an asshole until I know you a little bit. And then once
mm,
I know you a little bit and you're an asshole, then I really don't care how I look to you or what you think. But I have to get to that point first, and it's a little backwards for some people. Many people don't care what you think first,
yeah, that's
and
me.
that has created a lot of trouble for me in my life. Like this whole thing, that's where the anxiety and anger came from with this whole issue at work. And so that's why it was important for me to continue to have awareness. And so how do you overcome that, and how do you make it better for everybody? I mean, I'm in a position where i I have people who can look at me and say, look, this dude has made it this far up in the organization and has tattoos and is gay and is pagan. I have to use that platform.
Yeah,
It's
of
not
course.
comfortable for me. It is not comfortable. It's not where I want to be. That is not my thing. I am the side. I want to be backstage,
Yeah,
but I
well,
don't
in your
think I
position,
can.
yeah, no, you can't.
Yeah,
You
and I
you
think
you you
that's
have through your own work. I mean, here's the thing too. Okay, a thing to understand. So a lot of the times, like the universe and our gods and our deities and the entities that we work with, when we ask them for specific things or we work with them for specific ends, they are going to present certain situations or help us uh, be put into situations that are going to expand, what it is that we think that we're capable of. You may feel comfortable and safe being in the background, but at the end of the day, you know, being, tattooed, pagan, and gay are three very specific points that, when accumulated and combined in your position, puts you into another position to be ideal to essentially be a spokesperson for those around you that are looking to achieve what it is that you've achieved, and feel afraid because they may look different, feel different, or act different, in certain aspects of their lives, and they feel that they can't achieve those things. So
Yep.
you may feel comfortable in the background, but you have been put into a position that refuses to allow you to be put in the background. Hence the very reason you're here on this podcast. You've been given a platform to express all of these things outside of the realm of your job. There are no
I'm
coincidences.
no, and I have no problem like public speaking or being a spokesperson or talking about these things. But I do my best work behind the scenes and getting things ready. It takes a while to get that piece together. And I wish it could be more enveloped and open. But I know me being fully authentic at work would result in the stopping of my forward career movement.
Mhm.
And so do you be true to yourself or do you make that adjustment? Now, here's the thing.
Balance it.
Exactly. And most people will say you have to be true to yourself. Well, you can be true to yourself. I'm a reserved person in many ways. So that's going to be something. What the hell is that? This is not scotch. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
That Jack and Coke.
Woo. Which one is that? Tennessee? Johnny Walker. Oh, it's Johnny Walker. Oof. What'd you mix it with? Gas? Okay.
Gasoline.
If he was a bartender, we'd be broke. Anyway, I didn't mean to derail that conversation, but yeah, it's good, and I've been finding little ways to try to be more open or leave hints about things. Like for example, I have a pentacle necklace and I have a ram's head necklace, and I wear them. I do not take them off at work. And if I get the inkling that somebody that's nearby is of open mind, I'll let it show. It'll hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Let it all hang out.
Yeah. Rock out. All right. Never mind.
Rock out with your sock out.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say sock, but yeah, you got the idea. Yeah. So, now my perspective on the idea of caring about what people think. So I'm quite the opposite of Mystic. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't care like what anyone thinks. There is definitely 2 people, 3 that I definitely care what they think. And that would be my partner, my mother, and my son. Are the 3 people that I care about, like what they think of me as a person. Outside of those 3 people, I don't care how well I know you. I don't give a shit what you think of me. Because if I put stock into the idea of what it is that you think of me, I'm limiting myself. Now, that's also not to say that if I feel that someone creates a sound argument for a behavior that I'm presenting, that is a friend, and they say, hey, this isn't cool for this and this reason, that doesn't mean that I won't take that into consideration. See, a lot of people, I think, misconstrued the idea of not caring what people think to not taking advice. And that's not what not caring what people think is. Not caring what someone thinks is if someone that I know or I don't know comes and says, hey, Malice, you look like a fucking idiot how you're dressed. I don't fucking care. Fuck you. Hey, Malice, your spiritual beliefs are fucking stupid. Hey, fuck you. I don't care. Hey, Malice, the music you listen to or the art that you create is fucking disgusting. Go fuck yourself. So, not caring what people think isn't not taking into consideration the advice that friends give you. But it's rather when negativity or toxicity comes into your sphere, it's understanding that 9 times out of 10, the people being toxic are pieces of shit. And the only thing they want to do is destroy your self-confidence, wherever your self-confidence is derived. Because people that are not confident in themselves love nothing more than seeing the people around them being less confident in themselves, because then with the little iota of self-confidence that they might have, they feel super self-confident because they can't be confident in themselves. So not caring about what people think is extremely important, because for me, it is the true expression of understanding who you are as a person and fully embracing yourself and being one with yourself, not casting aside the opinions or constructive criticism that is given to you by other people. So it is, for example, if you notice in the list that I gave, I didn't mention Mystic, even though he's my best friend. This isn't to say that if Mystic comes to me and says, hey, Malice, this thing that you said in the stream, I don't think you should say that because of this reason. It doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and tell him, hey, fuck off. No, quite the contrary. It'll be, all right, I'll take into consideration. Like, I will look and, like, if it's as you say it is, then I will think about that further. So don't get confused with the idea that you don't care what people think as that you won't take advice or that you won't listen to the people that are close to you outside of the realm of people that you actually do care what they think of you. Okay, because somebody from the outside that looks at me and says, oh, well, you look disgusting because you wear big rings or you have tattoos or you wear black all the time. Well, I don't give a shit what you think about that because that's what makes me feel like a person. That's mine. But if, for example, Mystic says, hey, you know what? I think you're drinking too much on stream. I think you need to cut that back a little bit.
You lush.
Then, that is something that I would take into consideration, and I would say, oh, okay, I guess I have to kind of look at that now, don't I? Because, he's not making an opinion about me. He's not saying like what he just said, like, like you're a drunken bastard,
Apparently, you're Irish now too.
Am I?
Drunken bastard.
He's bringing forth an idea of something, that might benefit us if we, were to look at it. So understand the difference between not caring about what people think of you and taking advice or listening to people that care about you. Because you can still listen to people that care about you and not care what people think. It's not as cut and dry as people present it to be. It's like, well, I don't give a shit what people think. Fuck all of you, y'all. Fuck. No, we're not 15 years old. Okay? We're not children anymore. Right? We're not running around wearing black with our middle fingers up. I mean, well, sometimes. But generally speaking, we're not. So understand where that idea of don't care what people think comes from.
I think if the thing that for me, because it's still different for me, and that's fine. I mean, people have to be different. Like then, God knows if we were all the same, it would be a really really
Yeah.
ugly place full of a lot of white hair and beards. I need to color this thing. It's getting crazy. Oh, that
No,
white.
leave it. Go full white.
Oh no. Um, but I mean, I think the sticking point for me and all of that is care. And it's built into my personality. It's built into my job. It's built into caring is just caring, and so it does affect me. Um, I get what you're saying when it comes to advice, but advice and or judgment about what I'm wearing to me is different than caring what other people think. Like if I meet a stranger and they say something that can be considered hurtful, I do care what they think. It doesn't mean it's going to change my mindset or it's going to change who I am,
Mm-hmm.
but I care and it does affect me. Now, if they're literally just being an asshole, then don't care. No, I really don't care. But I think it's almost like earlier when we were talking about, I already done freaking forgot. It's the term care.
Uh-huh.
It means different things to different people.
Mm-hmm.
And care to me is that I can say like it's weird. Like I don't care what certain people think because I have seen the type of person that they are in my social circle. And some completely random person that comes up and says shit about me, I'm probably gonna let that go and not really care too much. But um if after this podcast, for example, somebody that was in the chat that had a conversation, nothing stood out, sends me a message and says, "You're a fat, ugly f whatever," I'm going to care. And it's not that I change who I am or how I feel. It's going to hurt me. That's going to hurt me. That's how my brain works. I'm going to care. It's going to mess my day up.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that
Oh,
you
and if
feel that way.
they do, we are going to find them and take them down. I'm okay with that too. Violence is the answer sometimes. That's truly. But it's like, yeah, it's like that rudeness or that total Karen judgment, for lack of a better word. I have a really good person I work with named Karen. It's always hard to say it, but yeah,
So
that's
I'm sorry that you kind of have to deal with that because I've had people in the comment section in videos. So like,
oh, dude,
being on being on YouTube, like for example, like the fight that we went through with LFM or fucking
use
co-editing.
the example of what was it last week with Orly. Some of the things people were saying, it's like, dude, I didn't care
Oh
what they
yeah,
thought. I wanted to beat some ass.
yeah. I mean,
That
there
made me
was
mad.
yeah, like last week, we had Orly on the show, and you know there were people that were coming in, literally like with the intelligence of a fucking, being, fucking talking about her fucking eyebrow makeup.
Which
You
looked
know,
great, by the way.
yeah. I mean, I had no qualms with
Anyway.
it. But it was an issue because what happened was is like, generally speaking, you guys in chat, you guys are fucking amazing. You have conversations with each other. You're sitting there, you're hanging out, you're cordial. It was kind of like the first time that we actually had, quite a few trolls,
Yeah.
kind of pop into the chat at one given time. And for anybody that knows how I deal with trolls, I'm not very nice. I was quiet that time around because somebody else was talking. But I actually, if you guys remember, I had to actually pause the interview to make a
Mhm.
comment, the chat that that this is unacceptable. Um, so that's the thing. Like if if you create constructive criticism and you have a solution to the problem that you're seeing, then have at it. But if you're just there to tear down and destroy, I don't want that energy in my chat. I don't want that energy anywhere near me.
Mm-mm.
I don't like. And let's face it. Okay, there are certain people, one person in particular in the audience that gets on my case every time I mention my age. But I'm, I'm 35 and I'm only getting older.
Uh-huh.
I don't have time to be fucking playing games. I really
Just wait
don't.
till you hit 40. Or you can hit
Hey,
50 like Rook. I'm sorry.
so wait, Rook is older than you?
He is older than me, but he's not 50.
Oh, okay, okay.
He's a couple years older than I am and always will be, and he hates it.
I mean, so it's one of those things that
Typing curiously.
I'm only getting older. So the thing is like the older I get, the more I realize the less it matters what people think of me, because I've already been around the block. I've already done my teen years. I've already done the partying. I've already done the trying to fit in. I've already done the excessive trying to get drunk and doing drugs and things like that to have a good time. I went through my 20s, which I completely fucking wasted on bullshit,
They
as
were
most of
great.
us do. Oh, yeah, they were. They were fucking awesome. I've been there, done that. So at 35 years old, it's quite a situation where it's like the older you get, the less you give a shit about what people think about you, because you're not going to change. At 35, who you are as a person is who you are as a fucking person. Fucking deal with it. Like, you can grow, but generally speaking, you're going to grow further into the wonderful person that you are or the piece of shit that you are. So, you know, um, just roll with it. And it's not a good thing, and it's not healthy, mentally speaking, psychologically speaking, to allow people to get to you on that level, especially people that are of no consequence to your life. You know, the life that you live, your day to day. When you allow people that have no bearing on that to affect you, what happens is you reach these shutdown periods where, especially if you're a content creator, right? If you're creating content, like, guys, do you know how, like, the plethora of negative comments that I've received over the last 8 months doing this YouTube channel? It is absolutely fucking redonkulous.
You need to do the read mean tweets thing. Read mean comments. That would be fun.
Maybe one day. If
you know the ones that were like, your left eye looks like you went through a blender or whatever the hell it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are funny.
You know, so maybe one day, but like I've only been solidly doing this YouTube thing for maybe 8 months, and oh boy, the comments that I've gotten. If I gave one iota of a shit of what people think about me, I wouldn't be doing this anymore. Like, I mean, it's just that simple.
I'm honest. I still get mad at him. I'm like, but I get more mad when I go to the other pages and see people like, oh my God, you're so smart. You're amazing and wonderful. I'm like, what is going on? What? It's like,
well, we were so used to
brick. I love you. You're brick. You're the most amazing brick that's ever bricked in Brickland.
Well, goddamn.
Go
read your comments. You know what, Behemoth? I have read your comments, and by the way, welcome. I have read your comments, and most of them aren't that bad. But if you give me a few to read, I will happily go through them on stream, like if you want me to. I mean, I've messaged you a few times on fucking FB, man. Just fucking you guys shoot me a link, I'll fucking look at them.
I make the mistake of going to a couple of pages and I comment too quickly, like in the beginning of watching videos, because basically Saturday, Sunday morning, that's what I do is watch YouTube videos from pretty much everybody in the chat that has a YouTube channel.
What is that, like Saturday morning cartoons for you now?
It is, because I get up at like 5 in the morning on the weekends, and Rook doesn't get up until like 9, unless my dog starts waking him up, because she does that too. But anyway. So I get up really early and I start writing these comments, and I'll answer a comment and then put a comment in, and then I hit enter. I'm like, oh shit, this is funny too. And then I'll write another comment. So you have with 9 comments in a row from me. I'm like, I gotta stop doing that, but it's hilarious.
So what I do is like, so I just generally kind of jump into like the comment section thing in the YouTube studio dashboard thing, and I kind of see what's sitting there. And yeah, there's definitely rude comments. There are very rude comments. There are people that tell me that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. There are people that, like, I mean, and any name that you can think of, you know. Oh no, I wouldn't mention names. I'll just read the comment, like. And then fucking like rip it apart. But anyway, I get that. You know, which is probably one of the reasons why I haven't done like kind of like a reaction to negative comments, because that's kind of the
More
thing.
power
Like,
to it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to give them power. You know,
it's so
like
funny sometimes.
It is funny, but it's funny. It needs to be funny to me, and that's the beautiful thing. Like, if you can find it funny to yourself without sharing it, and I can find it funny to myself without sharing it, that truly shows how fucking ridiculous these people are. And I'm pretty sure that those people are still watching this channel. You know, they're seeing these comments. We don't care. Like, we don't give a shit. I'm gonna keep doing what I do. And if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself. You know, and I know that's not good for the YouTube algorithm, but we've been on for almost 2 hours, so I'm pretty sure we're okay.
Joan Rivers said it multiple times, and she tried.
You know, so it's just one of those things that I don't care what you think. I will never care what you think. I have never cared what you think. And if you think that me mentioning that I don't care about what you think is me caring about what you think, Have I mentioned your name? Have I brought your comment up? Am I wasting time and energy on pointing you out? No, I'm not. And I'm not going to, because you're not worth it. You know, the people that matter are already here. The people that matter are in this chat talking to each other cordially and civilly, you know, and are having great conversation, you know, while we make complete fools of ourselves. You know, and again, what did I mention before? So you guys, if you notice, there's a pattern with the way that I think about things. So being peaceful, right? The whole idea of being peaceful. Being peaceful isn't that you're not capable of violence. Being peaceful is knowing that you're capable of being violent, but choosing not to be violent. That is being peaceful. Exactly. That is what makes you peaceful. Because if you're not capable of violence, if you're not capable of causing physical harm to another person, then you're not peaceful, you're harmless. And nobody wants to be harmless. No, there's nothing to that.
Monks?
Well, I mean, no, the monks are, I'm sorry, monks are not fucking harmless. Those motherfuckers rip my head off in like 5 seconds.
That's probably just because they're hungry. They have to be hungry.
You know, and then so there's that aspect of it. There's the peaceful aspect of it. And then there's the power aspect of it. Like you guys heard me like the last couple of episodes talking about power, what true power is, right? And knowing that you are capable of true cruelty, that you can truly be cruel, you can be evil, you can be a horrible human being, knowing that you have that ability inside of you to do that and making the conscious decision to not do that. That is power. That is where your power lies. Because you are making a choice to be better than what it is that you know you're capable of doing. And there's knowing that you're capable of doing these things does not make you psychotic, does not make you crazy. It makes you human. It's how you deal with these things that matter. It's like any emotion that you feel. When you become angry and enraged and furious, well, where does your power lie? Your power lies in how you deal with those emotions, not that you have those emotions. And many people are afraid of those emotions and don't mention that they have those emotions. They ignore those emotions. Don't ever ignore those emotions. So, Behemoth, I gotta call you out, man. I gotta ask you. Are we ever gonna be able to interview you, or is that just not a thing? Like, I would be honored to interview you, my friend, and pick your brain a little bit for the podcast. If you're still here. All right, maybe one day I'll settle on that. That's good. I appreciate it. Thank you. So that is my idea, and I know that there's a lot of people that disagree with that concept, that disagree with that idea. But one thing of understanding, at least in my opinion, balance, and knowing that, like, people that know me know that I always talk about balance and how balance functions. Balance is different for every person. So I feel that denying the fact that you are capable of doing certain things is throwing yourself. Oh, sure, it's podcast. You got me there. You got me there. Behemoth is No Shirts podcast, though. I don't know if I could do it with no shirt on.
I mean, I would. I could care less. That I truly don't care about. I am so not in shape that I have created a new shape but I like to show off my tattoo, so I'll do it.
Oh, I love that. I'm so
I
out of
have
shape that I created a new shape.
yeah, my chest tattoo. I have nuts and berries on my chest.
You would. You would.
Wink, wink. Hey, I also have a Green Man Ram's head with a squirrel and a bird.
Why is the word squirrel so funny? Why is that a funny word?
I don't know, but all of a sudden I'm hearing da 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 da, and I'm like da 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 da. Sorry,
Oh, Jesus.
I think the whiskey's
Well,
kicking in.
right? Well, I mean, Jesus isn't here. He's not welcome. Uh, Ave Satanas.
Ave
Uh,
Jesus.
you want me to kick you out of the call right now?
Who?
You.
I dated a Jesus. I don't know who you were talking about.
So understand, so the point here is like the whole concept of what we're talking about in a roundabout way. So there are always going to be people that call you out, whether it's in your comment section, whether it's at work, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your friend group. There's always going to be people that are going to call you out. Always. And for the most part, if you're capable, it's important to understand that the opinions of other people are just that, the opinions of other people. They should not affect you or who you are as a person. And only allow those that are truly important to you to truly affect you as an individual. And also understand how to respond if a response is needed. And the best way to respond is with calm and intelligence. Proving the misconception or the misinformation that said people are spreading about you or others. So when we talk about occult unification, when we talk about things like that, the true measure of that is going to be in the idea of the support of our fellow occultists. Being there to make sure that when someone presents an issue, presents a problem, creates discord within our communities or within our ideas, that we are there to stand with each other, with facts, with things that we have learned and the results that we've experienced. And again, yet again, I'm going to call out, Behemoth X here. I'm going to be completely honest. As far as occult content creators, Behemoth X is unequivocally, one of my favorites to watch because he is very genuine in the way that he does things. He's very direct, that there are power and secrets, and that you are not getting everything that he's doing. And if you're not following Behemoth X, ladies, gentlemen, and germs, go follow Behemoth X. You'll be doing yourself a favor. Okay? We just need to kind of egg him on to kind of start making more videos. I only speak the truth, Behemoth. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, your content, I truly enjoy your content. And I truly believe in what it is that you're doing. And I think that you're one of the very few people that are doing it the way it's supposed to be fucking done. So, yeah, that's it. I only speak the truth, man. Like, you ain't got to thank me for that. Your presence is greatly appreciated here. So, in the overall circumference of things and what we're talking about, there's always different ways to deal with things. But never give up who you are. I think that for me is kind of like the end message of this, is don't give up who you are as a person but work within the bounds that are presented with you. Just like Mystic with his situation at work, he wanted to deal with it in a different way, but he chose to deal with it in the correct way, which, one, saved him his job and guaranteed that his company that he works for, the corporation that he works for, is supporting what it is that he believes in, which is something I'm very proud of from Mystic and from the corporation. And understand that when there is no other option, when all other options are exhausted, violence is not a taboo word. When one must defend oneself, one must defend oneself. It is that simple. But save it for the last resort. Like I've said before, those of us that know how to fight, we know how to fight, so we don't have to. Mystic, what are your closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts are the best way to set a good example and move forward is the motto, D-bad. So everybody should look for and try not to fall into the trap of bad, right? So D-bad is don't be a dick. I mean, it's that simple. People are going to look to those that have created a platform or a voice or have a certain groups or people looking at them, even if it's not a big thing, like you don't have to be in this massive platform of power to have an effect on somebody else. Don't be a dick. People will come around eventually to recognize that, um, you know, just being a self-described witch or believing in pagan beliefs or left-hand path or whatever Wiccan, whatever it is, um, they have a preconceived notion of it because of their own fear and insecurities. And we're not going to change somebody else's behavior. We can change our own. And when we exemplify the best version of ourselves that we can be, other people will see that and eventually come to realize that it's not where it needs to be. So don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick.
I can agree with that.
Don't ask to speak to my manager either because they're not going to help you. Here. D-bad, y'all. Just D-bad.
Well, that was in response to Sophia with Ave Satanas, Baphomet, Lilith, Begor, Samael, Azazel. So, because I've got the chalice, Baphomet. So, I'm very theatrical when it comes to my rituals. For myself, I have yet to successfully record a ritual in the way that I would like it to be recorded, but I'm working on it. Eventually, guys, we will be doing some live rituals on here. But once I kind of understand how it is that I want to do it, right? We're not all behemoth. that man has like music video quality, and we know why, because he's worked with fucking bands. So, anyway, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else, thank you very much for joining us on this December 11th Saturday edition of the Malice Experience. Your presence here has been greatly appreciated. You are all absolutely fucking amazing. Thank you for being here. There will be pre-recorded videos coming back soon. I don't want to promise you when, but I will be eventually doing at least one video a week, hopefully, within the near future. If you are looking to communicate with us outside of the stream, you can join our Discord or our Gilded. We are definitely trying to grow the Gilded a little bit more. So Mystic definitely has those links, and he will provide those in the chat. So that's a thing. We also have the Patreon going strong. So go ahead and take a look at the Patreon when you have an opportunity. And yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. Also, just a reiteration, October of 2022 will be the release, at least through Amazon Kindle, and maybe some other sources. The book of Baphomet, Conversations with the Horned One, which I am currently in the process of writing. So when that comes out, anybody that is a supporter of that book will be either getting a free digital copy or a free physical copy. And I will be providing a limited set of 4 decks of oracle cards based around Baphomet and the Left-Hand Path. And thank you all for being here once again. That's going to be it for us. See you in the next one. Bye.